All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really profound shift in how we think about adapting to climate change. We're moving beyond just the hard science to find the human story at the very heart of it all. So let's just kick things off with a huge question. What if the most effective climate solutions, the real game changers, aren't being cooked up in some high-tech lab? What if they're already out there, being practiced in villages and fields all over the world? Are we even looking for answers in the right places? For decades, conservation pretty much followed the same old playbook. It was always top-down. Experts would come in and solutions were just sort of imposed on communities. And honestly, this approach failed a lot. And it failed because it treated local people like they were just passive recipients, completely ignoring the fact that they are the ones living on the front lines of climate change every single day. But that old model is, thankfully, becoming a thing of the past. A new people-powered paradigm is taking its place, and it completely flips the script, placing local communities right where they belong, at the very center of the solution. So this is the crucial point, right? We're seeing this fundamental shift in thinking. Communities are no longer seen as some kind of obstacle that needs to be managed. Instead, they're being recognized as essential collaborators, as active partners who hold absolutely invaluable insights for building a resilient future. And look, this new model isn't just some vague, feel-good idea. It's actually built on three powerful, interconnected pillars that make it work in the real world. We're talking about effectiveness, equity, and legitimacy. First up, it's just plain more effective. Why? Well, because it combines the best of both worlds. You take the big picture models from formal science and you fuse them with the deep, detailed, lived experience of local communities. When you do that, you create strategies that are way more robust and realistic. And that brings in this really important concept called Traditional Ecological Knowledge, or TEK. The best way to think about it is like a living library of wisdom. It's been passed down through generations, built on literally centuries of observation and trial and error. I mean, this is an empirical, data-driven system. It's just that the data is documented in stories and practices, not academic journals. Now, what's so fascinating here is how these two knowledge systems fit together. They're like perfect puzzle pieces. Science can give us these broad predictions about what might happen, but tech, it provides that super specific local detail and the long-term memory of how people have successfully dealt with environmental changes before. And this is a brilliant example of that in action. In Darjeeling, farmers created this incredibly resilient farming system through a traditional seed exchange network. This is a community-driven adaptation plan that's been working for decades, long before formal climate research even started looking at the problem. Okay, the second pillar is equity. And this is so important because climate change doesn't affect everyone equally. The poorest and most vulnerable, the people who often depend most directly on nature, they're the ones who get hit the hardest. So a just approach makes sure that our solutions don't end up making those inequalities even worse. This is where you get these amazing win-win strategies. Take the Treepreneurs Initiative in Durban. It directly connects restoring ecosystems by growing native trees with real tangible benefits for local people, like food and money for school fees. It's proof that you can heal the planet while directly improving people's lives. And that brings us to the third pillar, legitimacy. And this one is just common sense, right? You can have the most brilliant, scientifically perfect plan on paper, but if nobody follows it, it's basically worthless. When people are actually involved in creating the solutions that affect their own lives, they get a sense of ownership, and that buy-in is absolutely crucial for any kind of long-term success. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How does this all work on the ground? It's not just about having good intentions. You need a structured process. This next part gives us the practical toolkit for turning participation into real action. Well, the process starts by getting everyone who has a stake in the game to the table, and not just the usual suspects. Then, using tools like scenario planning, these different groups can explore possible futures and build a shared understanding. And from there, they actually co-produce the solutions together. It's a move from just consultation to true co-creation. Now, as you can imagine, getting scientists, policymakers, and local communities to all work together, it's complicated. And that's where these special groups, often NGOs, come in. They act as boundary organizations. They're the crucial bridges that make it all happen. They facilitate communication, they build alliances, and they help everyone co-produce knowledge together. So let's look at a real-world test case. India. with its just unbelievable social and ecological diversity, is the perfect place to see how this people-powered approach plays out, highlighting both the huge challenges and the really unique opportunities. And we gotta be honest here, putting this into practice is not a walk in the park. You're up against some really deep-seated challenges. These participatory processes can get co-opted by local elites, short-term development goals often push out long-term conservation, and government agencies just tend to work in their own separate silos. But here's the flip side. India also has these incredible assets to draw from, a huge, underutilized resource of traditional ecological knowledge, legal frameworks for local governance, and laws that actually empower communities to manage their own resources. These are all powerful starting points for change. So when you put all of this together, it really forces us to rethink what conservation is even for. It's not just about saving a particular species or a habitat, it's about securing our shared future. And this right here is the absolute key takeaway. A resilient ecosystem is completely dependent on a resilient community, and vice versa. These two goals aren't in conflict with each other. They actually reinforce one another. You simply cannot have one without the other. Which leaves us with a final, and I think really crucial question. In this race to find climate solutions, we've developed some amazing technologies and incredibly complex scientific models. But what if the most powerful tool we have isn't a piece of tech at all? What if it's simply learning how to listen better to the people who have been the guardians of their ecosystems for generations?